Okay, so now we're gonna do jumper braids, and we'll see how this one turns out. This is still our thick maned horse. So with the jumper braids, it's kind of a go big or go home kind of mentality. Some people have a specific number that they're looking to put in. I just want it to be evenly spaced down the neck, so it's not 3 braids and then 4 braids crammed together and then 3 braids that are far apart type of thing. I just want everybody to fit in together. So I grab a fairly biggish section, and just so you know, manes, the way they're designed for most horses, is thinner, thicker, thinner. So you're going to make smaller braids up towards their head, you're going to make bigger braids in the middle, and you're going to make smaller braids down at the bottom. And this is going to go for hunter mane as well. And honestly, the longer the braid is, the longer the mane is for these jumper braids, the better. And you don't want to have the ends cut, you want them tapered. I mean, you can do them with the blunt ends. I personally don't like them. It's a little harder to hold on to. And so whenever I'm done braiding down and I tie off the knot, I always do a secondary knot, and that just sort of kind of clamps it down and keeps it still. And with these braids, it's not so much of perfection as far as making the braid and separating the braid like it is with the hunter. You're not trying to make a straight line. And so when I get down to closer to the end of the braid, especially if it's blunt, you want to start a little higher because you're going to need as much yarn in there to support it before it unravels in your hand. And I just add the yarn to the back of the outer 2 pieces. And I braid down as far as I can go, and then I throw the yarn over the top, make that loop, make that second knot. Again, I braid down as far as I physically can, throw that yarn over, grab it and pull it through that loop, and then tie a knot. And if you can see, this one's a little smaller and they're getting a little bit bigger, but my spacing in between the braids is the same. And this is kind of a good view when you're looking at the top here. You can see what I'm talking about when the crest is thinner up towards the ears. It gets thicker. You can see how it just starts to widen out as it goes from this point to here. So the widest part of your horse's crest is going to be right in that center. And we'll talk about that in the mane pulling as well. Okay, so here I've got the whole mane braided down, and you can see the braids up here are a little smaller, they get bigger in here, and then they get a little smaller again down here. And again, I was trying to keep the spacing in between the braids to be fairly consistent from top to bottom, and that's why there's a discrepancy in the size of the braids. So once I've got the whole mane braided down, I use just a carpet hook to pull all the yarns through. And when you pull them through, you want to pull them through the center of the braid. So you can see it's coming through the center of the braid. And usually when you're putting the pull through the center of the braid, you can feel if it's not in the center. Move up here. You want to pull this through until you get a nubbin, and then it's just sort of like a bun, and each time you go around, you're gonna pull as hard as you can with the hand that's wrapping, and every time you go around, go under the previous section. So you're basically making a little bun. And then you take your pull through, go through the bottom to the center, grab your yarn, pull it down, and then you can see here I've got a little bit of a tail. I'm not super worried about that. I'm gonna come around the side, and I'm just gonna try and grab it every time I come around. There we go. And then that's what your finished braid will look like. So again, you pull it all the way through till you get a little nubbin that you can pinch. And then you're just gonna wrap around like a bun, and then come underneath. And you can see as when I'm going on the opposite side of the horse, I'm pulling down, so I'm not pulling this braid back up. And then again, I've got some hair here, I'm just gonna grab it. And then when you're tying the yarn around, you want to tie it underneath the braid. Like that. So everything is staying underneath your braid. And I can get these done on an even shorter mane. They're not as bun-like, but it can be done. It's just easier when you have a longer mane to get that kind of look of a bun. Makes it a little bit prettier. In my experience with these particular kind of jumper braids, horses that have their top stall door open, they tend to not, I mean, even if they scrub these things, they don't go anywhere. I wouldn't leave them in for overnight. Would do them for your show and then rebraid the next day, because they are kind of tight. And so you see, as I'm coming across, I'm pulling down. So once you're all done, then you're gonna just cut the yarns, and I leave them a little bit on the long side so the groom can find them. Anything to help the groom to get these things out without destroying the mane is awesome. So there's your finished product. Come on this side. And you can see this horse has like I said, it gets really thick in this middle section here. Pulling helps, but if you're wanting to avoid pulling, this is another way to just kind of get around it.